this sheet was last year's fall semester final exam, 10 most missed problems. I mean, there's only 11 questions on the test. So,
I just missed all the problems.
let's see if we can saw through these.
We're taking it today.
This test is gonna be a mega hoop.
Come in during it. Yeah, I'll take it.
Okay, so the 10 most missed
Unless I go in fifth.
problems on last year's final are these are similar
Unless I go in
examples to it. I don't know if they're the exact problem or not.
Maybe. That works.
So let's make sure we don't miss these 10.
Which one?
Everyone have one?
Yeah.
Everyone's good? Anyone missing one? Alright, problem number 1 says give the equation of the line parallel through the y-axis to the y-axis that goes through -2, 3. Okay, so it has to be parallel to what? So think about this. Think about this.
Vertical. It's gotta be vertical, so it's gonna be x
Yeah.
minus -2.
So you're right. So what you have to look at is this is the y-axis, this is the x-axis. We want to be parallel to this. So if I go parallel, that has to be a vertical line. What's the equation of a vertical line? Yeah, the answer is x equals -2. That's,
Is that one of the questions?
well, that was a type. Now, if it said parallel to the x-axis, it would be a horizontal line, which would be the y equals 3. Okay? So please make note of that. I think I might.
Oh, it's
Does everyone understand what that question asks?
Yes, sir.
Riley, what's wrong?
Any other digit in the
in like 5 seconds.
So think of where my point -2, 3 is. It's right here, right? And if I were to draw a line parallel to this line, so these lines have to be parallel. It's going through that point, so it's going through the x component. And being it's a vertical line, it's x equals. Now, let's just modify this. Let's say it said it was parallel to the x-axis. So this is parallel to the y-axis. If it's parallel to the x-axis, it needs to be parallel to this. So that would be this scenario. And so that would be y equals 3. Okay? Does that make sense? So this is parallel to x-axis. This one is parallel to the y-axis. And then it flips back and forth in your head going, but wait, it should. But wait, I mean, right? And it makes you normal if you're that way. Ooh. All right. Any questions on that one?
That's easy.
Yay! I don't know.
People don't understand math.
Yeah, I would say because it's multiple choice, it becomes a real easy one to flip-flop in your head and it will go to. Okay. The problem next to it is this one.
How will the graph questions be on the quiz?
I think we have 10 equations and you have to match it up to whatever graph. And that on that part is the one that you can't use a calculator on.
Gotcha.
Okay? So what we're looking for on those is if you understand if it shifts right or left, up or down for the most part. So if we want to find function at 1, which equation would I use, top or bottom? Why would I use the top one? You're absolutely right, but why would I? Why am I, what? Right. So I want values that are less than 2 that I plug in. So I'm going to use that one. So that's going to give me 2 parentheses squared minus 5. That was an x. Now I'm going to put a 1 in. So 1 squared is 1 times 2 is 2. 2 minus 5. So I wind up with an answer of -3. They might have the answer written like this as well. Why would they have the answer written like that? So I don't know exactly the same way. I mean, if they're just looking for -3, awesome. If they say, hey, find the point that matches up with this, then whatever you plug in is your x value.
How do you, that's all it is.
So how do you determine which equation to use?
Yeah, so we're looking at, I'm plugging 1 in. So this is 1 is less than 2.
Oh, yeah. So what makes it true?
So you do what equation makes it true.
Yep. All right. Now, I don't understand why this one was missed, because I looked at the multiple choice version of this, and I don't understand why it's missed. Now, this will be on the multiple choice portion of the test.
Is there a non-multiple choice portion?
No, the whole thing's multiple choice. So I don't understand why it's missed, because when I saw how the question was asked, it was like, hey, we have a region of 3 equations, we have a region of 4 equations, we have a region of 5 equations, and I gave you 5 equations, and people chose the wrong one. How many equations are there? 4. So we have a 4-sided object that we're dealing with, for the most part. Seem okay so far?
Yes.
All right, so let's just kind of graph what this means. This means I'm going to have this line in place. Okay. Oops. I'm going to draw in the wrong spot. I'm sorry. Less than 10. So 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. So that's that one, right? And being I want values less than this, and again, I'm going a lot harder than what the question is on the test. So I'm dealing with the region to the left of the green line so far. Agreed?
Yeah.
So I'm just going to put L for left. Make sense? And then next one, I'm going to take this one. That's a horizontal line through 2. And it's solid. Okay, so I want values that are bigger than 2. So now I'm dealing with the blue line above it. So to the left of the green and above the blue so far. Is that all right? Let's deal with this one now. That's a linear equation, so I got -2. I'm going to go up 1, right 2. So this one kind of looks like that. So if I took 0, 0 and plugged it in, 0 is less than -2, that's false. So I'm shading underneath the black. So under the black, above the blue, that side of the green, almost done. All right, so I'm going to do +9. So 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9. Then I'm going to go down 3 and right 1. Okay, this green, I guess, could extend further down. All right, so let's take 0, 0, see what works here. 0 is 0 is less than 9. That's true. So I'm going to shade above the purple. So above the purple, below the black, above the blue, to the left. So it's right here. That's all it is. Is there a line there? Is there a line that we have up there that doesn't really help the problem? Yeah, the purple line is more information. Okay, it doesn't affect where our shaded region is. I mean, in a sense it does, because we have to shade to the right of it. So that's about. So when you find this problem, really what the whole thing is on the page is this. It has the XY axis and it has that region drawn. Okay? So does everyone feel comfortable how I went through to decipher that?
Yeah.
All right. Can I move on? Yay. Next is y is less than negative 3 and then x minus 2 plus 5.
Oh, it's a funky V.
Yeah, it's a v that goes upside down. All right. So normally it starts here. Well, let's shift that point. It's going to go right 2, up 5. So right 2 and up 5. That's right there. It opens downward, so I'm going to go right 1 down 3, left 1 down 3. 1, 2, 1, 2, 3. Oh, that should be bigger. Why did it go down 3?
Because it's negative 3. Wait, so do we just pattern graph these?
Do what?
Do we just
Okay, so we're almost done with this. Is it a solid or a dotted line? Dotted. It's dotted because I don't have the equal sign underneath. And now I have to figure out where to shade. I don't know if I'd pick 0, 0 because my graph kind of goofed up with it. But I'm pretty sure like this point is definitely inside the V. Is that okay to say that? So that's the point 2, 0. So that's a really good test point. The reason I'm not using that one is I drew it by hand. I can't tell if my line actually goes through it or whatever because it's hand drawn. So what?
Why is that confusing?
The V is?
Is it 1, 3, 9, or is that a?
No. So it'll keep going. Right one down 3, right 1 down 3, right 1 3 because it's absolute value. It's not a problem.
Then why is it the 5 and it's just on the y-axis?
Oh.
It is. I mean,
Because
why
I-
is it
So do the
negative
opposite
three?
and then we're
Because that shifts right. It's always opposite when it's grouped. And that's up.
Wait, so
If it was a minus right here, that would shift down. If this is a plus there, it would shift left.
so if it said like 1/3, would it just be like?
I'm not going to give you 1/3. Don't even go there.
Oh, nice.
Why don't you go there?
Okay? But it would be fatter.
So I'm not like
P-I-G-A-T-T-E-R. All right. So, are all of the questions answered so far?
Yeah.
Is everyone okay that I'm selecting a test point of 2, 0?
Yeah.
I could have picked any test point inside or outside. Again, usually I want to go to 0, 0, but because I can't graph by hand really well, I decided not to. So let's plug that in. That's an x value. That's a y value. Agree? So 0 is less than 2 minus 2, 0. 3 times absolute value, 0, 0. 3 times, or negative 3 times 0, 0. 0 out of 5, 5. So I get 0 is less than 5. True or false? True. So if I plug 2, 0 in, 2 minus 2 is 0, times negative 3 is 0, plus 5. So I shade inside. Yay? All right. Can I move on? All right. Not sure why this is catching people off guard. Sketch a quadratic with discriminant 0. You're like, oh, what am I supposed to do? Well,
What's the discriminant
b squared minus 4ac if you use the quadratic formula. So if you used,
again? Ooh. So it's just like negative b.
So is that
over
0?
2a.
Okay, so this part right here, this is the only part I'm worried about. If that's equal to 0, I don't care what's out here, what's down here. Right there. If that's 0, your graph is going to do this. Or it's going to do this.
So just like a funky bounce.
Gives you a bounce. That's exactly right. It's where the vertex exists. If So if that discriminant, let's say the discriminant is some positive number. I don't care what positive number, some positive number, your graph's either going to do this or it's going to do this. It's going to cross the x-axis twice. And just the last one, just in case for you study hard people, if your discriminant is equal to a negative number, your parabola does not cross the x-axis. So it's one of those. So that's negative, that's your positive, and if it's 0, it kisses it, bounces off of it.
So we're just supposed to draw both of them.
Well, I imagine we won't have you draw anything. We would give you probably 4 choices of parabolas, and you have to figure out which one would have the discriminant of 0.
All the questions won't ask
Wait,
you.
but I'm sorry, Peyton. That's my bad.
What's wrong?
I don't.
Chick fight, sweet.
Wait, how do you want this out?
So if you have a negative out front, if your x squared value is positive, it opens up all the time. If it's negative, it opens down.
Okay, so
So-
in this case it's both since there's no equation.
So we're just looking for the discriminant. If the discriminant is the part underneath the square root. If it's 0, it bounces off the x-axis rather than bounce up or bounce down.
And
If-
since there's no equation here, and we just know that the discriminant is 0, we just do both.
So what you're looking for is, I would imagine this problem on the test would say, which graph has a discriminant of 0? It'd be like discriminant equals 0, which graph to pick from. They'd probably give you something like this. And it's only the far one that would work.
Okay.
Because it touches once here. Okay? This crosses twice. This doesn't cross. That touches once. That's what you're picking off of. Good to go?
Yeah.
Alright. We do have a graph that we're looking at. Picture looks like 1, 2, 3, 1, 2.
Imagine.
Alright, based on the graph below, what interval of the domain has the function increasing? Okay, so from here to here, it's increasing.
3 to positive infinity.
Yeah, so it's rounded bracket 3 to infinity. That's where the graph is increasing. Remember, if it's increasing, that means if I pick any 2 points along that region, my slope will be positive. That's what you're looking at. Okay? And you're like, what do you mean positive slope? Well, if I had a linear equation and it looked like that, my slope would have to be positive. That means it's increasing. It's the same idea there. Moving on. Happy day. Can I go to the backside?
Heck yeah.
Yeah, boy. Okay.
One product is not.
Matrix multiplication not working. Okay, in order for this to take place,
We met this.
name this matrice. 3 by 2. Everyone good? Name the other matrice. 2 by 6. Can I multiply these matrices together?
Yes.
Yes, because my inside dimensions match, that means I can multiply them together. Now remember, order is important on matrices. If it says, hey, can I go A times B, does that work? The answer will never be, well, B times A works. That's not the answer ever in matrices. Okay? If they give you, guys, you guys are talking way too much. I'm trying to review. If you want, go sit in the hall and enjoy the rest of the period. You're not in trouble. I'm just trying to review. Thank you. Okay, so if the matrices, if these insides match, that means multiply right away. If they don't match, don't say, well, if I flip my matrices over, then it will work. Okay, so if I were to multiply in a reverse order, I get 6 by 2 and 3 by 2. Notice those inside dimensions do not match. Agreed? So that means I can't multiply them together. So the associative property in math with matrices doesn't work. That's the property of saying, hey, 2 times 3 is the same thing as 3 times 2. That's awesome. In matrices, that doesn't exist. So don't try and think through a problem going, hey, if I flip them over, it'll work. No. Follow what the instructions say. If this is labeled as matrix A, like this, and this is labeled as matrix B, like this, and they say A times B, then you can do it. Okay? So, yup. If it's B times A, nope. Make sense?
Yeah.
So that particular problem or those problems on the test with matrices, I think we have 4 or 5 matrices that we have listed for you. Does that make sense? Guess what? You could probably plug all 5 into your calculator under the matrix mode. Agreed? Yeah. Plug them in and then go do the math. I mean, the math that you might see on this, you might see one that's like A, well, ignore these, but you might have something like this. Let's say those are A and B, they're completely matching matrices. So you would plug that in your calculator, and then you go A plus 3, matrix B, enter, done. Remember, if you add or subtract, it has to be the exact same dimensions. Multiplication, it has to be inside. Don't worry about division, we're not even there. You'll learn that in linear algebra. 3 years from now. So, Sam, I know you're curious. Can you divide matrices? Yes. Am I showing you? No. Well, yes, you can. In fact, Sam, you want to go really demented?
Okay.
I can plug a matrix in for each of these values. So each value can have its own matrix. And I'll just leave you with that one.
Ooh.
All right.
Like, make a
Don't worry about it. Come talk to me later on. We'll go over it.
never-ending loop matrix.
It's that's where you get all of the extra dimensions mathematically. Okay. Factor. What's the number one error you know someone's going to do?
Divide.
Yeah, they're going to be a 2x to the third on top and bottom of a gun. Yay, done.
That's what I did.
Okay, that's wrong, but I know people do it. All right, so let's factor this. I can factor a 5 and an x out of both of those, just on this top one. Agree? And that leaves me x squared minus 9.
Oh, and then it's a perfect square.
Yeah, that's the difference of 2 squares. So then this breaks down to 5x, x plus 3, x minus 3. Agree?
Are we gonna have ones with like a 5 instead of like a 3 or a 6 instead of like a 3? Like,
Yeah, this is not the exact problem on the test.
so
Hey,
we
who's
might have,
here?
Like
Come on.
really big polynomials up there.
I think I got a quick question, but I don't want to.
You're not interrupting. What you got?
Well, I just need my next 2 classes signed in, and I can't get them signed in.
Are they upstairs right now? Oh, like you're not in class right now? Okay, so polynomial 1, you click on the test,
Yeah.
and then
Test with code.
test with code, and then change your window, and it'll work.
Change my window. I'll
Change
write
it
down
the date, so because remember it always opens the 2 weeks.
But I gotta pick the kids. I gotta select my classes. I only selected the first hour. Is that a problem? At the beginning of the day?
No, the nice thing is, even if you don't select your class, by you going in on that, if the kid is in your class, they select the code. They pick the code. So like you're basically kind of opening it up where someone might say, "Oh wow, there's a polynomial test on here," but if they're not in your class, they're not seeing the code.
So it opens it up to everybody at that time?
Everybody within Cherry Creek High School. But if they don't have the code, they can't see it.
Alright, so I'll see if it works. Maybe just stop up in the classroom if this happens.
Alright, ooh, Eduardo. Dude, look at this. Fancy. You didn't get one? Alright, so hey, how does this one factor here?
You can take out
So I got the x plus 3, and then what's left? X squared. What's the sign?
minus.
Minus, good.
So then it's which is
Right?
3, yes.
Then I have x plus 3, and then I have this. And stealing from what Mrs. Peterson said today, this gives you some weird thing. It won't factor. Those will cancel. I took that away from when I was watching you talk to your kids today. There you go. Yeah, imaginary. You all know Mrs. Peterson? That's Mrs. Peterson.
Maybe I'll have one of you guys.
I had your
But I'm their triplet. I'm the triplet boy.
All the math teachers just from one family.
one math family.
That would be like kind of a really cool thing too. Well, actually, no. It's kind of interesting, but like they all start talking about math.
I'm so ready. It's really common.
This one's so hard.
That actually,
Kate touched it so.
I'm 3
Maybe I got
tests
voice in my
behind.
head.
Riley.
Yeah, let's go like.
I'm 3 vocab tests behind. I guess 2, and I'm dropping out. I'm so. That's so much.
I'm just trying to figure out,
That's
man.
so much.
I got one voice in my head.
That's not that good.
Are you kidding
None of the other.
I guess I sort of benefit from having 4 and also less
My
minutes.
pencil.
Like, in the past 2 days, I've had to study 2 sets. And then I guess my only bad thing is I haven't done 7 yet, and I'm not going to. So it's not gonna give you because she's like trying to know my vocab grade. So I'm just
You decided to play.
Cool.
What?
Why is what negative? Okay, because So- if I had the sum of 2 cubes, it's a plus b, a squared minus ab plus b squared. If I have a to the third minus b to the third, I get a minus b, and then a squared plus ab plus b squared. Wait, so
Your last answer is gonna be what?
my final answer to this problem is going to be 5x, x minus 3, over x squared minus 3x plus 9. Done. And that's as far as you can go.
So the only time you can do the thing where you like subtract roots from the bottom and top is when you don't have like the whole.
It's a monomial. So if you had like 5x squared y to the third over 10x squared y to the 10th.
Okay.
So it can't be a you have to reduce it by an entire binomial, factor binomial, or if it's a singleton monomial.
Yeah.
Yeah. Good, Kate.
Why can't you factor down the bottom?
It will not factor. There's no 2 numbers you can multiply together to give you 9, add together to give you 3. You can use the quadratic formula on it, but we're not looking for the roots.
Okay.
But if I were to factor it, it would be imaginary roots. So you'd get I. But this problem's not asking for that. All right, where else we at? Oh, we got 2 more? All right, almost done. X squared plus 7x is less than or equal to 18. Okay, so this was missed. So let's bring the 18 over. Still with me? Does this say anything? It just says solve, right? Oh wait, there's not an 18 on both sides now. I'm sorry about that. That should be a 0. Good? So x squared plus 9, or x and x minus 2. So then that's basically x is less than or equal to negative 9, and x is less than or equal to 2. Okay, so what does that look like if I put it on a number line? Okay, so realize I'm not doing x and y, so I do have a negative 9 down here. I have a 0 here. I have a 2 here. Okay, so think about this. What does my sign line look like? This is x squared. What kind of parabola would this be if it was y equals? So it open up or down? Up. So over here, all down here, these are all positives. Over here, these are all positives. But I want values that are less than 0. All in here is negative. So where is it 0 or less than 0? So it's negative. Between 9 and 2, this is not a point. That's your interval notation.
So if you have a question like that on the test, except instead of a binomial, it's like binomial.
I'm gonna give you that kind of question.
Okay.
So mainly what we're looking for is, can you identify positive, negative, positive is where we're looking, and then from that you're having to identify with interval notation where would it be negative. Okay, cool. Uh-huh. That's exactly right. Nice. Huh? So if I had a negative out front here, it'd be a parabola like that, so negative, positive, negative. So you're trying to do these with a sign line where you're not using the xy axis because we don't have y equals. But think of this kind of in your head. Okay, it's a parabola, it opens up. Hey, I just found the root, so on either side of the root, it either has to be both above or both below. And the middle has to either be below or above, depending upon if it's negative out front. Last one. Ooh, absolute value. 4x minus 5 is greater than or equal to 11. How many problems does this break into? 2. So I get 4x minus 5 is greater than or equal to 11. And then I also get negative 4x plus 5 is greater than or equal to 11. Okay, what did I do different between the two? Yeah, so this right here and then this right here, everything became negative. So let's solve it. 4, because I made over here, I changed those signs. Okay, so think about absolute value. Absolute value is the distance from 0. So it would not make sense to make that negative because we're not getting negative away from 0. So I get greater than or equal to 11 over, oh wait. That should be a 16, excuse me. Alright, so then that's 4, sweet. And then this one, I'm going to get negative 4x is greater than or equal to, let's say subtract that, so I get 6. Alright? Divide by the negative, so the sign has to flip over. 6 over 4, it's negative. 6 over 4 is 3 over 2. And then we're also trying to figure out where this is going to work. So I'm at positive 4 going this way. Okay. I'm at negative 3 over 2 going this way with our thing. So then our answer is negative infinity to 3 over 2 square bracket and then square bracket 4 to infinity. Because you're looking for where that works. If this sign had been flipped over, you'd probably be shading the middle region. And that is all I got. So what I think would be a wise move, Monday we just have a regular class, right?
Yeah.
I didn't tell you we had a final or anything Monday, did I?
No,
Drew's saying, yeah, so I'm going to go ahead and get it. All right. So I would review your blue packet and make note of questions that you want me to go over. And then I would review this white sheet and see if there's any questions for that. That's what I have planned. Cool? Everyone happy?
Always happy.